My name is Tim Lang, and I'm from Ann Arbor, Michigan. I was a sergeant in the Marine Corps. I joined late summer of 2005. I believe I left at the beginning of October, and went to boot camp in San Diego, went to all my training pretty much back to back, got home for, I think I was only home for a week, and then joined our unit going over for build-up training. So I deployed a couple months shy of being in the Marine Corps for a full year. Went to Fallujah, Iraq with 124 Marines, augmented by 324, and then was only there for about 2 months before I was hit by a roadside bomb. We were an infantry unit and we were conducting patrols throughout the area. On the day that I was hit, we were actually on vehicle-mounted patrol, and we were getting ready to return to base and rode over IED that pretty much picked the vehicle up, set it on its side, killing 2 of the guys, injuring myself and my fire team leader, Josh Blyle, who was also my best friend. And you know, he got the worst of it, besides the guys that didn't make it. You know, he lost both his legs, completely fractured his pelvis in 2 pieces, broke his jaw and like every finger on both hands. Like I said, it was very short. We got to Fallujah, it was rather quiet for the first month. And then as Ramadan was coming to an end, because we were there right around Ramadan, everything just started picking up. So a couple days before I was hit, we had people just dropping every single day. And you could just tell, like, the peace and quiet over the city was gone. And you just could hear eruptions going off all over the city when you're on FOB security or wherever you're at. You just could hear like fireworks starting to happen. You knew that things were picking up, and sure enough, on October 15th, 2006 is when I was injured. My recovery was long and very, very tedious. It kind of had several stages. First go, they said that they wanted to cut my knee or cut my leg off above the knee when I was still in the last thing I could remember before I went out. And, or they could just stabilize it and get me back to the States and let the doctors there see if there's anything they could do to save it. So obviously I said, let's save it. You know, let's do everything we could. Spent about 6 months doing limb salvage at Bethesda Naval Hospital. Had 20-something surgeries on it. Good thing is they were able to save the knee, because the knee was really bad at first. After I'd had a certain amount of surgeries, there was a period of time that the leg needed to heal and just see how the bone was going to react and if the bone was going to grow back in certain fuses that they'd done. So during that time, they sent me back to the VA hospital in Ann Arbor to be closer to family, to be closer to my fiance. I can't remember exactly how it happened, but one thing led to another. I ended up, you know, putting too much weight on the foot one day and kind of breaking down a lot of the work that they'd done in the heel area. And then also some of the other things that they'd tried to fix were just not taking, and the bones were growing just sporadically. One of the bones was growing outward through the skin. So at that point, we had a decision to make, whether there was like one final massive surgery that they could do. The chances of recovery were not good at all. And even with a full recovery, I would still have like drop foot, because they would have to cut all the tendons in the bottom of the foot. So I wouldn't even have control of my foot. It would be like dragging it, tossing it. So at that point, I said, you know what, it's been 6 months, and you know, we saved the knee, and me and Sarah, my wife now, talked about it. She just said, you know, I'll be there for you, whatever you need. I'll support you with whatever you do decide. So we had it taken then. A lot of different complications. One thing led to another. It took a total of 4 years, 4.5 years in recovery. I had over 40 surgeries. I think it's somewhere around 48. During that whole time, I was just going to physical therapy. Then I would have another surgery, whether it be a nerve graft or removing a nerve or removing HO, which is extra bone growth. One thing or another, I just had to keep going back under the knife, which kept throwing me backwards in the process, because anytime you cut the leg, it takes a lot longer for the sensitivity to go back down to where you can wear a prosthetic fully weight bear, and you're not going to get out of the hospital until you can fully weight bear and the swelling and everything goes down to a more definitive shape to where you can, get a more finalized socket so they could send you home with less to do at the local VA. So this coming Thanksgiving will be 2 years being home now. For the most part, I'm doing really well now, and I'm really starting to enjoy finally feeling more stable instead of going back and forth, not being able to plan much more than a couple months down the road because you don't know where you're going to be and where your recovery is going to be. For like 2 years, it was always like, my plan is to be home in the next 6 months. So finally, we're really appreciating the time together, the time at home, and the stability that comes from it. So I played football, and football was like my passion. But after I was injured, I tried playing football at one time on a prosthetic, and I ended up, just getting hit just a little bit, something that would never hurt you if you had a healthy leg, and 100 times happening. And it just happened to tear my meniscus and put me down for like another 2 months before I could even start like bearing weight again. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna have to reconsider my, choices of sports. And that's when I was introduced to golf through Salute Military Golf Association. They were like, just give it a chance, come on out, what can it hurt? It's better than sitting in your room. So I went out, and long story short, now I feel like I need Golfers Anonymous or something because I feel addicted to it. I'm really looking forward to meeting President George W. Bush. I was really looking forward to coming to Texas for the first time. It's something I've always wanted to do, is come visit this state. And then probably the thing I'm looking forward to the most is the competition itself. I love the guys that I'll be playing with, and there's this camaraderie that you develop in the military that's really hard to find anywhere else. And it's just because you guys are kind of like all thrown into a mission. You're kind of sealed off from the outside world, and you just have each other to lean on. For me, when I was in rehab, I considered myself being out of the military, even though I technically wasn't. But I still had all these amputee friends of mine that were all going through the same thing that I was, or all these guys that were going through rehab. In one way or another, whether they were an amputee or not, they were all going through the same thing. So we all had this just bond that it was just so amazing. And then when you go home, you're happy to be home, but that's the one thing that all of a sudden hits you harder than anything, is all these guys that I've made these really close friendships with and who get me in the struggles I have. So every chance I get to come out here, hang out with these guys, it's really awesome, just that in itself. And then just to see what the entire Bush Centers has done, it's really exciting. But I would lie if I wasn't saying I'm excited for the golf as well and for the competition.